Hey guys, and welcome to another brand new video. In this video, we actually have some very intriguing news, and I think also kind of somewhat good news. We did have a little bit of like a bad news video maybe like 2 days ago or so I kind of want to maybe go and put a good news video out here, mainly when it comes to people trying to go get like their consoles, which is kind of but the main thing our channel is kind of dedicated towards: PlayStation, Xbox, GPUs, cars, whatever it is, type of restocks. So I do kind of want to say that that's going to be kind of a big focus on this, so keep that in head. Like, it's kind of like the premise of all this stuff, although it's kind of just an intriguing overall like global economic thing too as well, just for people who are ever curious on that and kind of talk about that. So it's going to give us a little bit of the forewarning on this, but it should be a pretty intriguing video. So make sure you guys are subscribed with the notifications on as well for the brand new PlayStation 5 giveaway. We have the Amazon links down below for the PS5 Digital Console Controller. Make sure you guys are also following the Twitter and checking out that Twitter giveaway down below for the PS5. Easy entries, feel free to if you guys want to, and the Twitch stream as well. Sign up for that Weeble, sign up for that Coinbase, and let's go dive in the video itself, because I do think this is kind of good news as well, but also kind of scary news nonetheless. So if you guys are kind of trying to go to read between the lines on this one, is that we actually do have some very intriguing semiconductor news. Now, I'm sure you guys know we cover it all the time, and all the economy and news and everything covers up the semiconductors, as they're one of the most essential parts in the entire world. Now, when it comes to just life and news and everything, it's a little bit more on the intriguing side, because as you guys know, there's a lot of sanctions going on throughout the world, and this is actually kind of a big one. So let's go talk about this, because as of right now, it seems like Russia is pretty much being banned entirely from semiconductors. Now, I'm going to go have the premise and say this actually might be very good, mainly because with this, they're cutting off and basically still making that supply, kind of the big premise of this video as we talk about it, and I think this actually might be very nice, because that means that other various companies, because these are going to still be being made no matter what, will now maybe have an extra divvy stock out there to go and give out and make consoles. Now, I do want to say first and foremost, for this one, for the whole overall like war situation, I'd rather just be done. Don't get me wrong, but I'm going to try to go see like some little baby glimmer of niceties for this, although just take this more on just like the niceness for console-wise. Obviously, it's not a good situation for the entire world, so just let me go make that clear. But first and foremost over here, we have Taiwan's semiconductor ban could actually go and spell catastrophe for Russia. So let's go talk about this a little bit too as well. So Russia is obviously dependent on Taiwan's semiconductors for literally everything from the manufacture of laptops to military equipment. And basically cutting off the supply may be disastrous for Russia. And as I'm sure you guys know, TSMC is probably one of the biggest semiconductor producers. They have some of the best technologies, best production, and basically the entire world is all basically around them when it comes to technology. So with this, without semiconductors from Taiwan, and namely those produced by TSMC, Russia's now facing a large number of problems, basically as you can see from this. So as I mentioned, the first kind of big premise for this I want to go push into is it does make sense, because this would be freeing up extra available supply for other various companies. Think like Sony, think Tesla, think Xbox, think GPUs, think cars, whatever it is, because for this, there's actually kind of a big amount of semiconductors that can now be utilized everywhere else. So on the very first day of the basically invasion for this one, the share price of the world's biggest chip maker, Taiwan Semiconductor Manufacturing Company, or TSMC, literally dropped. Obviously, though, that's kind of more affected by the overall tech center, but despite the global semiconductor index, known as the SOX, I live in Chicago, we got the White Sox, being up 3.5%, this sent a clear message that investors are concerned about relations between China and Taiwan in wake of the Russian invasion. Just a day after the invasion of Ukraine began, Taiwan actually announced that it was joining the international sanctions against Russia. So that's kind of just intriguing and kind of note too on the side note, because when it comes to semiconductors, when it comes to production, when it comes to life and all of that stuff, it does get affected. Like, everything is kind of on that, really on edge. Every company doesn't know what's going on. Every investor doesn't know what's going on. We're all kind of just like sitting here just seeing what happens. So basically, to comply with this order, TSMC must actually halt the export of semiconductors to Russia. Taiwan holds a prominent position in the global production, as we've kind of talked about throughout these past 2 days, of both advanced and lead-edge chips, according to Ajit Manacha, CEO of Silicon Valley-based industry association Semi. Russia produces an insignificant number of semiconductors and is heavily reliant on imports, he adds. So it kind of just basically means Russia needs other folks to make them. Kind of how the same thing is for us in America and other various countries. And that's why Taiwan is such a really hot spot, because they always have all these production. They have all these semiconductors. They have basically everything you need underneath the valley to go make sure technology works. And right now, you guys are probably watching this on a phone or a laptop or computer. And obviously, with that, you use a semiconductor to even make it in the first place. So with this, let's go and actually look at the actual numbers themselves, because I think this actually is really good news in terms of regards of all the, just everything. There's also bad stuff too. I'll probably have a video in the next few days even saying this is some bad news going on. But right now, I'm going to take this as like a positive win. It's not the biggest win, but I'm just trying to find something good, in the world. So I'm always more of a glass full, half type full type of guy. Especially Russia's reliance on Taiwan for semiconductors. Russia is wholly dependent on TSMC for the high-end semiconductors required for the manufacture of anything from laptops and smartphones to equipment for the country's military and security services. So literally, like I said, laptops, the computers, the PS5s, Xbox, whatever. TSMC told Investment Monitor, TSMC complies with all the applicable laws and regulations and is fully committed to complying with the new export control rules announced. The country declined to comment further. TSMC's significance for the global semiconductor industry cannot be overstated. The company is the world's largest contract chip manufacturer and Asia's most valuable listed company at $600 billion. Which is insane to go and see this. And you guys can even look at their actual overall numbers from this one, quarter 1, 2021, or quarter 2, 2021, where TSMC is at 53%, and other various companies such as like Samsung, as you guys know, USMC, Global Foundries are a way lower, 17, 7, and 5%, and just other various rounds at 15. Although all of TSMC's facilities are located in Taiwan, following the global semiconductor shortage seen during the crisis, the company announced plans for more than $44 billion capital investments as of 2022. This includes global expansion for the semiconductor fabs, like fabricators, which is likely to see the market dominance cemented through foreign direct investment beyond Taiwanese soul. So those days are just thinking like in America, where America wants to go make extra money. They want to make sure they have like contracts and making, let's say, 50 million chips. We want that. So basically for this, Taiwan also has their significant share in installed global chip manufacturing capacity. So global installed semiconductor manufacturing capacity by location, as you guys can kind of go and see off on these numbers. So it's quite a bit. You guys are basically seeing Taiwan and China and a lot of these other various popular places. And thankfully, some locations are slowly kind of creeping on in. Like you guys can basically see like United States and Europe definitely have a little bit of a smaller landlocked for this one. But some places kind of hold their own, like Japan, although a lot of these things are kind of shrinking. Same with South Korea too as well. But this is why we need to go have some more of these in America, because this basically would prevent, say, the PlayStation 6 or Xbox, or whatever the next Xbox is going to be called, basically having less issues. So like I keep on saying, the big thing is we're seeing Taiwan having to go follow the sanctions and everything else too, like China, other various locations as well, South Korea, Europe, etc., which does kind of free up a lot more extra supply for all these technologies. Now, it kind of depends, of course, on how long this goes. Would I rather go and have it last longer just so we have more consoles? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. But at the same time, it is kind of like that very small, nice smidgen of, well, I guess that's kind of good news. Kind of makes it the middle of all this bad news, if you know what I mean, as well. So basically, Russia's dominance on Taiwan for chips was already a problem, according to global data analyst Michael Oram. A global shortage of semiconductors meant that Russia was basically already struggling for supplies in the first place. As TSMC's business boomed and shifted very much towards leading-edge contract work, most notably more so for Apple, the small Russian market simply couldn't compete for TSMC's capacity to as well. So basically, Taiwan's semiconductor exports to Russia peaked in 2018, which is like some still pretty big numbers mixed on in. Like we're seeing some very large numbers, although it definitely has tapered down a little bit more. But this is all stuff as of right this second will not be able to go be imported or exported more so. Actually, I think it's imported. Imported over there to, well, I guess exported. Exported over to Russia. So that was kind of a weird word for me. It's like import if you're thinking the Russia perspective, export. You know whatever. You know what I mean. So basically, this one, this is still huge numbers. Like these are very, 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 very big numbers. Kind of moved on in. So from 2018, Russia suffered from not being a top tier client for TSMC, and since then, their high margin business has exploded, with Apple and another handful of clients commanding TSMC's capacity and leaving the rest increasingly crowded out. Says over there. So basically, this is good news because we're actually having a lot more extra supply for semiconductors, which we can go and utilize towards other things we need, such as, say, consoles, such as cars, such as, etc. At least as of right now, at least to my understanding. From 2018, as we kind of covered over here, you guys can kind of see that they kind of got left behind. They didn't know what was going on, and they just didn't invest in the technology. That's why, like, United States and China are very well aware of it. TSMC remains the best global foundry option, despite Russia trying to plug its shortfall in semiconductor supply with other options such as China's SMIC and U.S. company Global Foundries. But it's kind of funny, too, because as well, once again, with at least the United States sanctions, they're not having any access to that, which also could put more semiconductors out in the market. So basically, for this is even saying it's Russia out of semiconductor options. Samsung, Russia's only real alternative to TSMC for high-end contract manufacturing services, now comes under South Korea's semiconductor export embargo on Russia, which is very intriguing. Russia is cut off from modern semiconductors as it has no advanced semiconductor industry of its own, and it's basically has been relying on TSMC entirely to make its leading-edge chips. So they're just hard stuck. Like, this is kind of, I would say, good news for everyone else, bad news for Russia, because they just don't have access to the chips. They can't just go get them in the first place too as well. And also on top of this, along with South Korea's Samsung, has a monopoly on the 5-nanometer chips, the most widespread small chip in circulation, used by basically Apple, Qualcomm, and Huawei, for other various stuff too as well. So on top of this too, Russia still can go and export low-end chips from China, but this is the high-end chips that are critical for basically all the hardcore technologies, the intriguing technologies actually mean too as well. High-end chips are also vital for today's advanced weapon system and for high-end smartphones, for example. Everything else can also be done by chips done by China. But right now, once again, they're kind of locked out of it. Or possible repercussions for the new iteration of the chip too as well. Maybe the battleground for Ukraine, as we kind of covered before, where Ukraine's a really big main supplier for neon gas, and also Russia also a big key supplier for palladium too as well, which is both used for retaking. Now, obviously, they could also be cutting off supplies of all the other various things too as well, which is why kind of, these situations get kind of difficult, because you take away one thing and someone else takes another thing, and it kind of just goes hardcore and it kind of goes all over the place too as well. But like I said, the big thing I think for this one is just the fact that as of at least right this second, I'm going to take the more glass full. If we really want to go more hardcore in a part 2 for this video, you guys can leave me a comment down below, which you may want to go and talk about as well, in regards of more so on the fact of Russia and how they actually might go and affect the economy on that way, when it comes to maybe the bad news. This is more the good news, like I said, though. So I appreciate you guys all so much for watching. Give me your thoughts and comments down below. I probably talk about this for the next 30 minutes if I need to, so I might simply do a part 2 video maybe tomorrow or something like that. But I appreciate you guys all so much for watching. Make sure you guys are subscribed with the notifications on, as well for the brand new PlayStation 5 giveaway. Check on the Twitter giveaway down below, and follow up the Twitter, follow the Twitch stream, the Webull, Coinbase, all that other good stuff. And I'll see you guys later on today for some more brand new videos. Love you guys.